Renegade Thinkers. Last night, I devoured a book called Pink Goldfish by my friend Stan Phelps. It's an easy read, which of course is my favorite kind of business book. And it's chock full of examples of people and brands embracing, if not flaunting, their weirdness to great success. Now, Stan's co-author, David Rendell, for example, wears head to toe pink, literally including his shoes when he speaks, and uses this as a launching pad for many of his best stories. Now, ultimately, this is a book about the power of being unique, even if that uniqueness stems from a negative, like Alamo Drafthouse, which has become famous for shushing its moviegoers and pissing off some folks. Brands, by definition, are supposed to be unique. We can go all the way back. I just looked this up, 5,700 years ago, to the Egyptians, who marked their livestock with distinctive insignia so that you would know who owned it. Now, if everyone used the same hieroglyphic, imagine the chaos of sorting the herds. Yet, most brands aren't unique, not by a long shot. In a recent study Renegade conducted among 125 senior marketers, only 40% believed their marketing was unique. That figure was just shocking to me, stunning. And as a call to arms, if you're listening to this show, my hope is you're not among the 40%, that you indeed have figured out how to differentiate your brand from your competitors. Maybe you've already embraced some weird aspect of your company or culture or purpose or service approach or target or product or something. Which brings us to today's episode. One way to differentiate your brand is to put yourself in a new category and claim leadership of that category. Think HubSpot with inbound marketing or demand-based with ABM. But adopting this approach is not as easy as it sounds, and many have tried to do it without success. It takes vision, it takes time, and it takes resources. And ironically, it takes competitors. It's not really a category until they're competitors. Now, one company that has found success creating a category is Impact, and their CMO, Scott Brazina, is here today to talk about category of partnership automation. So Scott, with that long preamble, welcome to the show.
Oh, fantastic. No, that was great. And I learned something every time I watch your show and including that entry. So that was exciting to hear. Thanks for the intro.
I'm just imagining those hieroglyphics on those sheep and those cows and going, dude, that's mine. Anyway, before we get to Impact, one of the things that intrigued me and I really wanted to have you on the show is, this isn't the first time you've been in the category creation business. Let's spend some time now and talk about your experience at PTC. First, what was the category that you created there?
Yeah, that's right. This is my second dedicated effort at category creation and software space. So first and foremost, I'm a B2B software marketer. You know, engineering background, sold software for a couple of years, and then, but 80%, 85% of my professional experience has been marketing of B2B software. And I was fortunate to be head of global enterprise marketing at PTC, a company that's founded and headquartered out of the Boston area, which is now, it's a NASDAQ traded company with those symbols, PTC, 10 billion plus current market cap. And the category is PTC is a B2B software provider in the product development software space. And so the category that we created for the first stage of PTC is an amazing story from 0 to $1 billion in ARR as a software company in 10 years. That's unique. That first wave of growth was off of a point solution, a massively proprietary, differentiated and protected point solution called 3D parametric CAD, CAD, computer-aided design, but a new way, parametrically driven. You could drive it with formulas instead of just graphics, but you know, spreadsheet merged with a CAD system, right? Rocket ship. But then that market got saturated, and then the next stage of growth is when I joined, and that was where do we go from here? What's the strategy? We have amazing customers around the world, 7,000 employees, but we're shrinking. We shrunk. I joined right in the middle of a 4-year slide of a 40% reduction in ARR. I joined, we lost $400 million in ARR.
Wow.
I joined at the middle to help fix marketing. And we very quickly came up with this category idea, basically thinking along the x-axis, thinking through the customer, the product developers out there, Nike customer, Toyota customer, all kinds of like 7 or 8 major vertical markets, and think about the assortment of software point solutions that they have to wrestle through and the inefficiency of that, and then strategically figuring out which ones make sense to stitch together in what sequence. And then, hey, what are we going to call this? And we're just like one of 3 largest CAD players in the world. And so back to it takes a village. It's not just, you can't create a category. You know what you want company, you need company. And then we battled it out for the next 2 years with the 2, and they were both much bigger public companies than us, 2 very big global CAD providers, talking to Gartner, Forrester, AMR, all the analysts at the time, and talking to the trade press and many of the leading customers of our vision of this new category and what do you call it? And so the category was and is, that whole space now is referred to as PLM, Product Lifecycle Management. And it's software that encompasses all the way from the very beginning, ideation, origination, sketching, things like that, all the way to design and then release to manufacturing, and then all the way at the back end, maintenance, repair, overhaul, and recyclability. All that software now is stitched together for companies like Nike all the way up to Boeing. That's PLM.
So interesting. So what would you say, based on that experience, as you break it down and we say, all right, we're going to create a new category, what was sort of the critical moment? And I know that analysts are really important in this, but you can't just one day say, hey, it's a new category. There's got to be some groundwork that happens, right? What do you say if you're a CMO right now and you're thinking about looking at your situation and say, you know what, we're different than these guys. We have a vision that's different. What are the things that you think a company needs to have in place, or at least imagine that they have in place, could have in place, to sort of think about trying to own a category? Or create one at least.
Create a category. Because again, you want competitors in this, right? Because you can't have a category of one. By definition, it's right. In fact, the antitrust people come very quickly if that's the case, and they're circling right now in a few big spaces right now. But it's a spot on question. You got to go through like this litmus test to think through whether or not your journey has any shot in heck of being successful. And you know what? It really starts with customer value of your vision, of the vision, right? The breadth category, right? It's like you got to think through, particularly in the software space, we see this time and time again. I mean, Salesforce is one of the most, amazing, easily recognized examples of doing this. If you look at what CRM is today, and think back to what we've been around long enough from the start of Salesforce, and and the early competitors, which were really just online Rolodexes, address books, right? And look how that has expanded into so many, right? And they've done it organically. They've built stuff themselves for that expansion, and then they've done strategic acquisitions and pieced it all together. And now their vision is so much broader, right? And that category it's doing so many different things. But it's back to first and foremost, you don't even get started if you're not convinced that the customer value is broad enough and real enough and demonstrable. Like, not just a sales pitch. It cannot be a sales pitch. It can't be a marketing pitch. You got to be arm in arm with executive leadership and product and say, does this make sense? And then you got to go litmus test it, as we did at PTC, and we're doing it in spades at Impact. We've been doing it for a number of years. Litmus test the ideas with your leading customers and analysts and leading press that know the space to let them challenge your ideas. And then you get into this whole tug of war, because it's just like there's infinite colors. Is that blue or blue? You get all these, and what are you going to call it? And and then us back to the story of PTC. after about a year of evangelizing, it became clear that the momentum was building, and then it got into a dogfight with those two other big, large public companies, because you can't keep this stuff secret. You don't even want to. You got to get ready for the battle. And so then we had to go in and explain our POV compared to these two other big public companies. And they were trying to call it something else, right? Not PLM. And so you go through all those gyrations, but it starts with, you really have to be certain that there really is value to put all this together and say, hey, there's a new category of software, and look at the advantage for having it integrated in category, a la CRM.
And
Does that make sense?
it does. The analysts have to agree, right? They have to bless this. Okay. How far do you need to be from a product development standpoint? I mean, you mentioned Salesforce. Well, they started out, essentially as database plus, right? So we could manage our Salesforce with, giving that manage the leads that came in. And then they added all these things, and clearly couldn't possibly have had that entire vision for the full suite. But how much do you think you need to have going in order to just sort of at least claim category leadership?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. In my experience at PTC and again, right now, what I'm in the middle of at Impact, in both those cases, even more so at PTC, well, both companies were about 10 years, interesting enough, as I think through it, PTC was 12 years old when I joined it, but they were much bigger than Impact. They were already 7,000 employees, over $1 billion in ARR. Impact's 500 plus employees, but we're growing really fast with a couple thousand major customers. But in 12 years in our space, Impact. So both companies. So what you need is, I think what's really critical is the customer experience, and a range of really smart testing customers, ideally across more than one segment. Because you think about software going like horizontal and providing value to multiple vertical markets, like CRM or like PLM, product development software, or like partnership automation, right? We have 7 or 8 major vertical markets that Impact is in, from credit cards to retailers to food delivery, all right. So what I think what is really important is, I think that you can't go after, you wouldn't have the knowledge of a category potential, I think, just starting with a clean sheet of paper and like not even having any customers, right? I think unless you like started in that industry and switched to, hey, I'm going to leave that company, I have an idea, right? You already have that track record, right? So I think what's critical is you got to have some deep experience, and know that there's this range of customer needs, both within a vertical market and then also horizontally, for it to be a sizable category, again, like a CRM or a PLM or a partnership automation, where you're trying to bring that category of a solution to multiple vertical markets to be a true big, multiple tens of billions of dollars software category. And then back to your roadmap, at that point, you would already have a number of years of experience and some customers. And so you've got your existing solution, and you've got your 18 to 24 month roadmap. But then you start, what we did in both cases, you also develop your category roadmap, like an A, B, and a C, like a wild one, a really aggressive one that's far out there, and then one that's more in the middle, and then one more that's more conservative, and then start to talk that out.
We've been talking about category creation, and one of the things that I don't think I started the show by saying this is about differentiation, but I guess we should talk, Scott, about what are the advantages of creating a category? I mean, you obviously wanted to do that again. What did you see as the value to the business of creating a category?
Yeah, no, great question. It gets back, it's the enterprise value of the company that you're working with to do this as a leader, right? So the market cap, the value of the software company that I'm working for, if we're able to legitimately start a category and be considered a major player in it, and the category is real, those are huge ways to create value in both directions.
Interesting. Okay, so let me explore that. So you might get a higher multiple, for example, as a
Yeah.
result of defining and owning oh, they're a leader in this category, as opposed to if you were in a different category where you're one of 30 or 50 or 100, in which case your value may be less because they see as you having so many different competitors. Is it as simple as that?
Yeah, I think it's that. And if you're just a point solution, in a very crowded space, like you're just doing one thing, like email marketing or something, right? And but in case if you got a whole bunch of adjacent functionality, and there's value for bringing it together, the value to the client, it really just starts back to hey, is there a value to the client, a big value to the client for these things to be integrated?
Right. And, I see that a lot. You'll see a MailChimp or a Cheetah Mail or a Constant Contact that started out, for example, as email, and then they added various things, whether it's CRM or website construction or marketing automation, and they sort of try to expand. But, in some ways you mentioned Salesforce, they're not great at all those things. That's one of the challenges that I see with this model, is that you are always the broader you go, the more likely you're going to be exposed in one place or another as not having the best solution. And integration isn't always the best solution. So I'm just curious, again, that may not matter from a valuation standpoint, because the people who are crunching the numbers are seeing something different. But from a customer standpoint, in your experience, is the value of integration, is that a 2x, 3x, 4x relative to maybe having a best of breed solution in one particular area of that integration offering?
Yeah, it's well, so first I want to address the point of, what you just talked is a spot on issue that you're always wrestling with. The classic leading point solution versus a broader integrated solution that's good in many things, right? That point solution battle versus, oh, wait, one throat to choke. But it's what you're going after in that integrated solution is 1 + 1 = 3.
In
That's a
theory.
key thing. That's a key thing.
Okay.
Right. So you're looking for back to strategic pieces that you bring together, that by bringing them together, it's not just additive, it's multiplicative. And that's where the value jump gets. You can imagine things like, AI, learning, machine learning, right? You bring in an email marketing touch point with maybe web-based consumer behavior, and you have those two things integrated and they can learn off of each other. Right? If you were just the mail provider or the other one, you wouldn't have that insight. Your clients wouldn't have that insight.
Got it. Okay. So the value sort of goes two ways. It goes to the value of the enterprise being perceived as worth more. The value goes to the customer, in theory, because you have this one synergistic installed product. Okay.
That's right.
So, right. Okay. So we've established the value of trying to at least lead your way into a new category. It certainly sets you up, if you're the leader, to be perceived as a leader is always a good thing. Typically, the leader in a category can be the premium brand. So there's some pricing strength, if you will. Now, that's typically the case. I'm wondering if that's your experience.
Yeah, that's one of the advantages for sure. I think the critical way to get there is, the thought leadership, right? By being a category evangelist and creator, a category catalyst, evangelist, right? By definition, you got to be investing heavily in thought leadership and then getting those pieces out there and getting it challenged by competitors and press and media and analysts. And then the advantage of that, of course, is other leading customers want to be doing partnering with the best of breed suppliers. And so again, but it gets ultimately it gets back to truth and value, because if it's not, we've all been through experiences where things weren't really quite as they were promised. And that's a waste of shareholder capital. It's a waste of all the human capital chugging away at it for a couple of years trying to make it. You got to make sure it starts with figuring out, does it increase the value by bringing this together? And then go out and sponsor studies and thought leadership pieces, independent, get them out there, get them kicked and challenged. Trademark certain concepts and open source them, which is what we did in PLM, because once we invested in that whole space and what we're doing in partnership automation, right? You want people to use CRM,
right?
You don't want to own it,
right? And that's so interesting. As I remember years ago with IBM creating the term e-commerce, which they didn't bother trademarking. They just put it out there, thinking they would win with that offering. Okay, so when you came to Impact almost 3 years ago now, was it assumed that this is what you were going to do, or was there a moment where you sort of needed to assess it and said, "Oh, this looks"? Was that part of your charter going in?
Yeah, it was. To be honest, it was a close second. The first one was my experience, which was also honed and developed at PTC for those 7 years at PTC, a global account-based marketing and selling. So highly targeted marketing and selling go-to-market strategy, and how to do that from a marketing standpoint, how to lead that, how to develop that, and how to do it in tight. In fact, I don't even use the word ABM. Mine's ABMS, right? Twin sister. You can't, right? It's highly partnered with sales. So that was the first. So Impact had made the decision that they wanted to switch to an ABMS go-to-market approach. And then the second was the category. Do we think that there's a category here? The company did have, in fact, but job one at Impact was, when I joined Impact 3 years ago, the company was called Impact Radius. So job one was to rebrand the company to Impact.
Oh, I see. It was Impact what?
Impact Radius.
Impact Radius. Interesting. I'm sorry, my dog is barking in the background. This is the advantage of having home studios. These things happen.
You're gonna hear. You may hear mine. We have two running around here, and I'm trying to keep them quiet. So no. It's days of COVID.
It is yes, it is a COVID thing, and this is of course his usual time where he insists on coming to visit. Anyway, all right. Yeah. So you had to change the name. From reducing it from Impact Radius to Impact. You had to stand up essentially a marketing, we'll call it a go-to-market strategy, right? And then it was sort of redefine this category. So if you, as we try to wrap this up into a tight little bow, you had a lot on your plate. What made you think that Impact could in fact become the leader in this new category?
Yeah, it's good question. I joined with the company. The company was founded in 2008. So I joined with over a decade. The company was already growing for 10 years at that point, and had an amazing, and still does, we've grown since, an amazing set of customers, brands using our partnership solution across 4 or 5 major vertical markets. And it was clear our strategy of being basically the Salesforce.com for modern day partnerships, that's what we believe partnership automation can be. And we are one of the leaders in partnership automation, right? And so I knew that as we started to talk through it, that wait a minute, we have these 5, there could be 9 vertical markets that we take this to, and we could. There's such a mix of partnerships today, whether it's an affiliate, an influencer, an app-to-app partnership, a traditional biz dev partnership that's global. We have customers that are doing that on global scales and managing it in the system, both partners. Like the range of partnerships types are exploding because everybody's digitally connected and it's all over the internet. And it's ripe for automation, because to do that at scale, by definition, you need automation. And it's like, whoa, we could, and we came from a great position of strength in one traditional type of partnership, affiliates. And today that's still a very critical building block for all the partnerships. But we went from that leadership spot in affiliate marketing to addressing all these other partnership types. And so we very quickly, as we were thinking through, and we timed impact radius to impact, that announcement was to signify the announcement of the category. So we use that as an opportunity to explain the vision of partnership automation.
That's such a great point. I just want to pause, and a lot of companies think about changing their name, and now it's shortening it or elongating it or doing something, and often they do it as if that's news, as if that is the thing. And to me, the huge risk of that is same old brand, just a new coat of paint, and that is a waste of an opportunity. And so I love the fact that you said not only do we are changing our name because we have a new vision. Not we're changing our name because it's shorter and we're able to get the impact.com URL, but we're changing our name because we have a vision that the new name more appropriately addresses. So, it's expensive.
Exactly.
It's a pain in the ass to change your name, but if you're gonna do it, make sure you're changing something fundamental about the way you present yourself to the world. And I don't mean just color and logo. I really mean something substantive like you described, Scott. So it's really music to my ears to hear that. Okay, so when did you think, so that was, you changed the name, when did you begin to believe that, oh my God, they're taking us seriously, that we really have created this new category?
Yeah, it was three things. One, our customers, and some incredible, we're fortunate, Impact is fortunate to have some amazing customer, brand customers, talking to their partnership professionals about the strategy and watching their eyes light up and say, we were getting a lot of confirmation with that and with some of our alpha solution, alpha and beta solution, but testing the vision in meetings with leading and pressing and smart partnership customers, combined with, I think we ran, I kept track of, I know it was like in the low 40s, 42, 43 analyst interviews between Gartner, Forrester, and a few others to talk about this strategy. Also to find out from which ones were the right ones to be talking to. Right, that's why it was so many, right? Because by definition, no one's covering partnership automation because we're talking about a new category, right? But we're trying to find out the ones that Venn diagram in, right? So, but to get their reaction to it as well, and then thirdly, to be honest, folks like you and other, smart marketers out there and people that are writing in the space, and get them to challenge our thinking. And then when we started to see the customers purchasing the first versions of the solution, and then lastly, I guess a fourth, this is another sign, but what's imitation's a form of flattery. We saw if you look in the space, there's major competitors that changed their company name even, right? So and then at major trade shows like the Mexico, major public companies that are competing against us, putting the word partnership and partnership automation on their trade show booths. So those were all signs that, we were on to something, and they were hearing it from their customers.
So we started the show by talking about differentiation and weirdness. And one of the sort of conflicts or sort of ironies of category creation is, as we said, is that by definition you have competitors, otherwise it's not a category. So what have you done to make sure that even in this category, which you help name, but you freely sort of put it out there because you need that, to make sure that impact is still distinct, differentiated in the category of your own creation?
Yeah, so it's a great question for me, and this was the secret sauce at PTC. I cannot reinforce this enough, and I could give lots of examples of the primary research that we did back there with BCG and McKinsey. We had the advantage of having Michael Porter on our board of directors, and so we did a bunch of research with Michael Porter and some of his grad students at HBS. And we're doing exactly the same thing. We're on our third round of primary research, global research with Forrester here. We just released it last week at Impact. Global study done 9 months around the world. And so, and it's not an impact commercial at all. This research is not, it is completely devoid of, it is about the category and the potential value to the customer. And at Impact, our first round of that primary research was a global study with Forrester to answer why. Why would you even care? What's the value of partnership automation to a company? And so that was that first stage. And then that was a year ago, and 2 years ago. And then what did we get? We got lots of feedback. You got me. I agree. I understand. Now tell me how. And so this next round of research that we just published is how the best in class are doing it against the maturity model. How maybe novices and intermediate and advanced are doing partnerships, integrated partnerships. And so to answer your question, dedicated research and be dedicated in moving the ball forward and puck forward for everybody, thought leadership.
Right, so you have to act like the category leader. You have to sell the category. You cannot be worried about speeds and feeds, and you have to sell the category. That's what leaders do. You sell the category. Interesting. Okay.
And we've had some competitors go to the same research house and recently, underwrite and publish their own research, and we applaud that.
Right.
We absolutely, we say, some people even in our company and salespeople get offended or upset by that. Wait a minute, what should we do? I'm like, what we should do? We should clap our hands. We should say, fantastic. There's more people contributing to moving the thinking forward. This is wonderful.
So, all right, I'm going to bring this to a close. Here's what I think is so interesting about challenging yourself where you are to say, could we create a category? The great thing, you can't do that without a vision. You can't do it without a product roadmap. You can't do it without your customers saying, hey, we actually could use this and we believe you could do it, so lead us there. That there's a business benefit that is really clear, and that business benefit gets bigger and bigger as companies adopt the category. So, and then from there, you could say, all right, we might be able to do this. Then you can go talk to analysts. And the good news about analysts is they'll go, you're crazy. We're never going to create that category. You can use it all you want, but we're not going to support you. And then finally, you can prove to them, because you get enough customers, you can have ultimately, you have a category win. And here's one: you are the trade show for the category, right? Sales Dreamforce or RSA's security thing. Those are two examples, just two of categories that do it. All right.
Yeah,
it's hard. It's challenging, but obviously it's rewarding because your company stands apart as a leader. You are valued more. Maybe you have some pricing strength. So with that, Scott, thank you so much for joining us on Renegade Thinkers Unite.
Fantastic. It was a lot of fun. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. And for all you listeners, if you've enjoyed this episode, you can thank me by writing a 5-star review on your favorite podcast channel, or by sharing the show with a fellow marketer. Renegade Thinkers Unite is written and directed by Drew Neiser. Hey, that's me. Audio production is by Sam Beck. The show notes are written by Melissa Caffrey. The music is by the amazing Byrne Twins, and intro voiceover is Adam Cornelius. To find the transcripts of all episodes, suggest future guests, or learn about quite possibly the best B2B marketing agency in NYC, visit renegade.com. And until next time, keep those renegade thinking caps on and strong.